Well, for more on the state of Chicago's economy and how the next mayor will tackle it, let's bring in investigative journalist John Chase. He's the Director of Investigations for the Better Government Association. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start by talking about the economic platforms that the mayoral candidates are running on in this historic election.
Yeah, so both Lori Lightfoot and Tony Preckwinkle have been talking a lot about how the outgoing mayor, Rahm Emanuel, has focused so much on downtown that he's forgotten the city's neighborhoods where most of the residents live and where business isn't necessarily located. And so they've both stressed trying to turn the page for Chicago on that issue and focusing investment in the neighborhoods. And while at the same time, of course, not turning their backs on downtown, but trying to stress more of the neighborhoods.
And that rural-urban divide is certainly something that we've seen repeated in other cities across the U.S. Now, speaking of Rahm Emanuel, the current mayor, what are some of the most significant ways that his policies have impacted the economy there?
So, yeah, the biggest thing he did was when he took office 8 years ago, he had a $635 million budget deficit. And through raising property taxes and through scores of fees, he did get that down. There's still a budget deficit of about $98 million. The other issue, though, facing Chicago is, as you mentioned, the pension crisis. He made an effort to try to tackle that by revamping how the pensions would be funded. That got overruled by the Illinois Supreme Court. And as a result, we still have major pension problems, $28 billion at last count. And that is going to land right on the desk of either Lori Lightfoot or Tony Preckwinkle, whoever wins tonight.
Now, in terms of the business community, we know that Chicago is a hub for a number of Fortune 1000 companies. So which industries tend to be the driving force in Chicago's economy?
Well, that has been, Rahm Emanuel put a big stress on trying to bring a lot of these headquarters, and it's an array of businesses. There aren't like one or two businesses that he's brought here. Rahm Emanuel has also made a big deal about tourism in Chicago, which has increased significantly. But the big thing that Rahm Emanuel did was try to bring all these corporate headquarters to try to get headlines and better national and international profile for the city. Because of that, it just didn't bring in a ton of jobs. Those headquarter jobs are great for headlines, but they don't bring in thousands of jobs. They bring in hundreds of jobs.
Now, something else that's been attracting a lot of attention, some of these notable development projects, for example, Elon Musk's tunnel. Tell us a bit about some of the more interesting projects on the horizon for Chicago.
Yeah, so the Elon Musk tunnel, neither Lori Lightfoot nor Tony Preckwinkle has embraced this plan, and it hasn't really gotten far off the ground. So the chances of that moving forward, it's got a lot of obstacles before that is going to happen. The two big projects that Chicago's talking a lot about are a $6 billion mixed-use project called Lincoln Yards that has become very controversial because it's sort of focused a lot on the north side of Chicago. And then there's a massive police academy that Rahm Emanuel is really pushing for before he leaves office. It's become quite controversial in a town in the city where police enforcement issues have really taken center stage the last few years.
And just quickly, I want to look at some of the demographics in Chicago. According to the Brookings Institution, nearly 14 million millennials left Chicago between 2012 and 2017, and obviously they're taking their skills and their talents with them. Why do you think this is happening?
It's a really good question, I think, and it's a question that Chicago leaders keep on asking themselves. There is a lot of attractions for Chicago, but I do think in terms of there's still real big issues with crime in certain neighborhoods and also education. A lot of the people leaving are African Americans in the south and west sides. That's actually where you're seeing a large number of people leaving. Those are areas that were struggling before and are even more so now.
All right, thank you for your insights. John Chase there, Director of Investigations for the Better Government Association.